Welcome everyone. It's tea time. Let's turn the lights on. There it is. It is tea time and I don't have a tea again. I was out here watering my plants, you know, and this came to me. So let's jump right into it. All right. So as I was saying, it's tea time and we're just going to think some things out. And this came to me as I was watering my plants. A story just, God just dropped it. Hey, talk about this. And I don't know if you know me for a while. I'm always, one of my favorite scriptures is Romans 8:28, and it keeps me going that even though my bad times are for my good, and even though my, even through my good times, it's for my good, and he's setting all these things up for his glory. So as I was sitting in my thinking chair, thinking about the things I think about, I was watering my plants outside. This came to me, and I wish I had something to drink. And he said, do it anyway. So here it is. A man he won a trip to a remote island. Won a trip. Great, right? The boat that he was on to get to the island hit a rock, sunk. Bad, right? He was close enough to swim to the island. Good, right? The island was pretty much deserted. Kind of bad, right? But he was a Boy Scout and he knew a little bit about survival. So he made himself a hut and he made a fire. He had some tools. He made himself like beds out of leaves and all kind of stuff. Real survivor. Good, right? He had made all kind of things on the beach signaling if the plane was overhead they would see it, like help. He was stranded, but day after day nobody would come. That's pretty bad. He made a fire on a cold night close to his hut. That's a good thing. He was able to keep warm. Good thing. But the hut caught on fire. That's a bad thing. In shock and disbelief, throughout this whole process, he had been praying, God help me. God help me get through this. Help me make this, build my testimony. Hut caught on fire. He lost pretty much all hope. Everything that he had been working on for all that time that he was there, he pretty much lost it. And when he got up the next day, or not the next day, well, that happened in the morning. Early in the morning, the hut caught on fire. He lost everything, all the stuff that he'd been working on. And later on that day, a ship came, Coast Guard came by and picked him up. That's a good thing. And he was like, how in the world did y'all find me in the middle of nowhere? And it's like, we saw the smoke signal. And that's a good thing. All things, this is Romans 8:28 again, all things work together for your good. Okay? And that's the bad things working for your good. And the good things working for your good. How many times do we ask God for things and something bad happens? To be honest with you, I don't know which ones are which. It's all working in his hands, all working for our good. But sometimes God just allows things to happen. And as he allows things to happen, good or bad, greater things are happening in the background, coming up next. So, you know, you might be walking towards a door of opportunity and you stumble and the door shuts, which is sometimes a bad thing. But you'll notice that because that shut, you had to be resourceful. Sometimes you have to put on greater hats, gain greater skills, become more proficient. And then the next opportunity is 1,000 times better than the last opportunity. And it's all about your perspective too. This always happens to me. That never happens. That's good. And then that cycle makes you spiral down and you live in a pit of despair pretty much. When we are seeking him, we're praying, help me with this, help me with this, help me with this, and something bad happens. You have to stand on those scriptures. Like I have to stand on those and remind myself in the middle of these things that are happening, something is good happening on the backside of this. And I have to go through here to get to there. It's interesting. Children of Israel, they circled around, I think Mount Sinai. They would circle around it over and over and over again. And it ended up a 2-week journey took 40 years. Where they should have said boop, boop. Like that. They did this for 40 years. And after the 40 years, after a whole generation died, or two, hey, it's time to go. All right, here, made it. If they hadn't spent that time in there developing their story, developing their trust, then you'll notice generation after generation, because everything is so good and so good and so good and so good, that the more the next generation takes it for granted. The next generation, God's always going to be there. I can do whatever I want. Then a few generations down, it's like God doesn't exist. This always happens because I'm me. I'm perfect like that. And we don't understand, hey, this is all his hand working for our good. So as you take time to spend with your father or anything that's with your family, and you get some downtime and you think about things, you reflect over your life and you say, man, this was a really bad time, but look right on the edge of that, right on the other side of that, what happened? I had a car accident, but man, I love this brand new car that I got. Something, all kind of things happen. And be thankful for it. One thing we do, we sit and reflect. God, you brought me from a mighty long way. But we don't appreciate it. We don't tell our children and our children's children, this is what happened to me when I was your age. And these stories and events and the experiences that we have that gets passed down from generation to generation shows how God's hand's always been on your family. Don't take it for granted. All right? I'll use this for right now as a cup. Kampai. Love you very much.